words of Shalom Aleichem, which you can find on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malkei Hasharei, Malkei Elyon, Direlech, Malkei Hamlavim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moachem L'Shalom, Malkei Hashalom, Malkei Elyon, Direlech, Malkei Hamlavim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barukuni L'Shalom, Malkei Hashalom, Malkei Elyon, Direlech, Malkei Hamlavim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zeitchem L'Shalom, Malkei Hashalom, Malkei Elyon, Direlech, Malkei Hamlavim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We continue with Lecha Dodi, which you can find in your prayer books on page 20 or up on the screen. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Yishrianu el hamichad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat nelchu v'nelcha, ki מקור הברכה, וראש מקדם לסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. Everybody, Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela.
We rise as the doors are opened for us to welcome in the Shabbat bride.
בואי ושלום עטרת באה, גם בשמחה ובצורה, תוכן בני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi
be seated. Shabbat Shalom. I want to just invite you all to take a deep breath with me. It's been a very long week. It's hard for me to believe that it was just about 5 days ago that I was up in Orlando with a handful of our teenagers at Disney World. We took them and we volunteered at Give Kids the World on Shabbat and on Sunday morning, but then we took them to Disney World. And it was raining, and Ross, our youth engagement director, and I were walking around, and I was getting cold, and there was no line for It's a Small World. So we found ourselves on the It's a Small World ride. And right around when I realized that It's a Small World is without a doubt the longest ride on the face of the universe, that I realized that there are two types of dolls that surround the boats. There are the dolls that talk and the dolls that don't. So I then found myself thinking, well, why did they feel the need to make two different types of creepy dolls? I had many, many, many questions. And when I started thinking about all of the questions that I had about something that is so irrelevant to pretty much anything, I found myself opening a book that Rabbi Dan introduced me to that is all about questions, and it is called The Answer to How is Yes. In this book, Peter Block teaches that the right questions to be asking are about values, purpose, aesthetics, human connection, and deeper philosophical inquiry. So pretty much absolutely none of the questions that were in my brain. So why was I so fixated on them? Perhaps because they were right in front of my face for about 15 minutes, and generally approaching things with curiosity is better than approaching them with judgment. But honestly, when you fixate on something that irrelevant and mundane, it's often because it's a lot easier to focus on than the harder questions. The questions that keep us up at night. The questions that lead to more questions and more depth of understanding. Those questions, the difficult questions, take a lot of courage to dive into. And when our weeks are full of meetings and errands and bills and stressful situations and the news that doesn't seem to have anything good on it ever, it's totally natural to say, I don't want to have any more tough things to think about. Give me the silly questions and the reality television. But there's so much more to life than that. And what Shabbat gives us is this intentional moment to push the pause button, and to do so in a more meaningful way than we can do when we're focused on things like the It's a Small World ride. And I'm not going to tell you how much time I've spent this week thinking about this because it is embarrassing. But what I can tell you is that I've been thinking a lot about how this Shabbat will hopefully give me and all of us the opportunity to breathe and reflect in a more meaningful way. The question becomes, how are we to use Shabbat? One of my big takeaways from Peter Block's book was that yes is the affirmation that each of us play an active role in the world that we live in. So that means that we don't have to passively stand by and watch the movie of our life play out. We have the ability to change things, to say cut, to say, I'm going to sit down and spend the next amount of time with my family and the people in this world who I care the most about. So I'm setting a goal this Shabbat, and I hope you will join me, to be just a little bit more intentional and to not just let life pass me by like I watched it on the boat of It's a Small World, but to be an active player, to have my mouth open, to drive the boat. And this week we read the last 3 plagues, and they could be read in a passive voice that God was doing these things to the Egyptians. Or it could be read in an active voice, that Pharaoh wakes up and calls Moses and Aaron and says, "Get all your people out of here." And then we respond, and we respond quickly, so fast that the bread doesn't have time to rise, which leads us to a week of matzah eating. And then they run toward the sea that opens them up to all of these new possibilities. So this Shabbat, I'm choosing the active. I hope you will too. Let us now take a moment and actively engage in the connection that comes from wishing each other a Shabbat Shalom and being in the same community and in the same space as all of our community members. It is now my pleasure to invite up Rachel and her family to light the Shabbat candles in honor of her bat mitzvah tomorrow evening. We are on page number 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all those who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov. And now it is my pleasure to invite up Benji and his family to help us sanctify Shabbat with Kiddush on page number 4.
The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Bravery hagafim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra kodesh zeher litziyat mitzrayim kivanu vaharta ve'otanu kedashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodsha Behava uvratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ish hashabbat.
Amen. Mazel tov. We cannot wait to celebrate with you tomorrow. We now rise as a congregation and turn to page number 28 for Baruch Hu. may be seated, page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishanei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom ubein laila, Adonai tzivaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, amari v'aravi.
Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'am v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech uv'shoftecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot
Leot lachem leElohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Please join me in the responsive reading at the bottom of page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered at Sinai. We bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, L'Shalom.
Ve'hamidenu, Shomreinu L'chaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot Shlomecha.
Hashkivenu,
Ashkivenu Adonai
One of the things we say at most bar and bat mitzvahs is that the service is not a performance. And I think on a night like tonight, with so many members of our choir here singing and leading us in worship, it's a reminder that it's really not a performance, but an invitation for us all to join together in joy and thanksgiving for the gift of Shabbat. And with that, you are all in for a treat to be led in prayer and in joy by our very own Stan Bass and Vishamru.
From everybody. Vishamru, Bnei Yisrael, et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat, L'doratam Berit Olam.
Beini uvein Bnei Yisrael, Oti leolam, Oti leolam. Veshamru Bnei Yisrael, et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat, L'doratam Berit Olam. Ki sheshet yamim עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם וביום השביעי וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם.
We rise together as we begin our Amidah on page 46.
Sarah, גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב והושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מפלגל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדום אליו, מלך ממית ומחייב, ומצליח ישועה, ולמען אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Avinu, Avinu, Shabbat Shamayim, to Yisrael the Avinu, Avinu, Shabbat Shamayim, to Yisrael the
O Heavenly One, Rock and Redeemer of Israel, send your blessings to the people and the state of Israel, the first flowering of our redemption in these dark and difficult days. Strengthen them and console them with the warmth of your love, and help to find them within and from you the resilience and determination to face these days ahead. Return all those abducted, men, women, the elderly, and children, safe and sound to their homes. Keep them from knowing any more trauma or hurt. Strengthen those who protect our holy land, soldiers and civilians alike. Steel them with courage and determination to succeed in their missions. Protect them from any harm and return them soon in safety and security to the loving embrace of their anxious, worried, and waiting families. We pray that our nation and our people come together as one, stronger and more aware of the need for unity, kinship, and wholeness. May the prophecy of Jeremiah be fulfilled, that our wailing and weeping be restrained, for the captives will return from the enemy's land. And as Isaiah proclaimed, may our people in our world soon know a time when nation shall not lift sword against nation, and they will study war no more.
Avinu, Avinu, Shabbat Shamayim, to Yisrael the Avinu, Avinu, Shabbat Shamayim, to Yisrael the
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. You may be seated. We continue in silent prayer and meditation.
Son, imrefi, begion libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'go'ali, Adonai tzuri v'go'ali.
As we begin Seder Kriyat Torah, our Torah service, I would like to invite up Rachel and Benji, our bar and bat mitzvah, to help us with our hakafah. And I normally say, and our adult choir, please come forward, but you're already here, so you're a step ahead. Please rise.
Israel.
Yesterday, the New York Times released a quiz on their online platform. Is this face real or AI? I did not do so well. Can you imagine not knowing if a high-quality photo is a real person or artificial intelligence? I learned from this article that AI has been creating pictures of faces for years, but it has struggled with some features like ears being the same with wrinkles and ensuring that the eyes are both looking in the same place. So until recently, there were some telltale signs if a photo of a person was computer generated. Now it is much, much harder to discern if an image is artificial or human. And honestly, this all freaks me out and is still so much more tame than the technological renderings of all of these future things that could happen in just a few short years or decades. My very, very, very novice understanding of artificial intelligence is that with a ton of data, facts, images, pictures, information, the technology bot thing is taught to have the knowledge of everything and then the ability to create just about anything. But I struggle with the idea that knowing everything from the past provides us with the ability to project the future. There's something not quite right about that. And I think part of it is that part of the simultaneous beauty and pain of life is that it's not so linear, even with the world at our fingertips. I was talking to a mentor of mine on Wednesday, and we were talking about Pluto. Like, were we lied to in school all of these years because we were taught that Pluto was a planet? No. We just have much more information now to make slightly different assessments. And as somebody said to me earlier, with all of the information, with everything being so not linear, we meander through life because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, even though we have all of the information in a little square thing that doesn't leave our hands or our pockets. Twists and turns are what take us to places that we could never have expected. And it's that non-linear approach to life that tells us that we're doing it organically as opposed to programmed like robots. It gives us that humanity. And I think the same can be said about our Torah. There is a common expression that within Torah study, there is no chronology, which is to say that what happens in the Torah doesn't necessarily happen in the same order that it would have happened if it all happened at once. And it's an easy response to give, especially to somebody who's not satisfied if they uncover a plot hole. But it also is an interesting approach to thinking about this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion, Parshat Bo, is confusing. We read plague number 8, we read plague number 9, and then the narrative just stops. And it's interrupted by commandments regarding the observance of the Passover sacrifice. It tells us that after this magical thing that's going to happen in next week's Torah portion that Rachel is beautifully going to read tomorrow night, we are going to experience this great exodus from Egypt. And now we're giving the instructions on how we need to start preparing to memorialize this ritual. But it hasn't happened yet. But only after we receive this commandment do we then read the 10th plague. So somehow, simultaneously, we're reading the end of the story from when our ancestors were enslaved, and we're reading the beginning of our story of freedom. Two stories from two different moments in time, happening mere verses apart from each other. And there's something, I think, really powerful about that when we think about the Torah not necessarily happening chronologically. Because it reminds me that even in the most challenging times, and even if we're lucky enough to be like Moses and have God say, you're going to get a happy ending to this story, which, let's be honest, how often do any of us get that happy ending? That actually getting to the destination is not immediate. We can't click our heels together 3 times and magically get transported back home in Kansas. And in fact, we need those twists and turns to be a part of our story. We must find the courage within us to embrace these twists and turns and to wander. It's what gives Moses the strength to be one of the greatest leaders of our tradition, and it gives us the courage and the strength to walk through life a different person tomorrow than we were yesterday. We are instructed in this week's Torah portion to teach our children about God who passed over the homes of the Israelites. And right before we read it, perhaps to remind us as readers in 2024 that even through these horrible plagues of darkness and death of the firstborn, that there was a plan. There was a reason for the plague of darkness and death to the firstborn, for out of it came light, came relief from slavery, came revelation. And having faith is something that even when it's painful to experience, when it's painful to watch, is perhaps the ultimate challenge. The narrative being non-linear in our Torah, is that a sign of humanity or divinity? In the same way that the AI pictures could look real and a real photo could appear fake, it is all in the eyes of the beholder. With that, I would like to invite up anybody who has a January birthday to come up and bless the Torah as we read from it. We are going to be in the middle of chapter 12 if you would like to follow along in your commentaries underneath the seat in front of you. Happy birthday, Wendy.
Thank you. Your birthday too? Happy birthday. 24th, this week, 23rd.
$90? Wow. 1, 2, 3. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'charaנו mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Ushmartem et hadavar hazeh lechok lecha uvanecha ad olam. And you shall observe this rite and ritual as a law, and your children shall for all of infinity. V'haya ki tavo'u el haaretz asher yiten Adonai lachem ka'asher diber ushmartem et ha'avadah hazot. And when you finally get to this promised land that God has said will be given to you, you will observe this ritual on an even deeper level than you can outside of Israel. V'haya ki yomru elechem banechem ma ha'avodah hazot. And when your children ask you, what the heck is this ritual? Because children ask questions. Ve'amartem zevach pesach hu la'Adonai asher pasach al batei b'nei Yisrael b'mitzrayim. You will say, this is the Passover offering to God, because God passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt. V'nikfu et Mitzrayim, and destroyed the Egyptian homes, Ve'et Betenu and their homes, Hitzil Vayekod, but they saved our homes. Ha'am Vayishtachavu Vaylechu, and the people of Israel bowed in gratitude. V'yasu b'nei Yisrael kasher tziva Adonai et Moshe v'Aharon ken asu. And the people of Israel did what God had commanded Moses and Aaron to tell the people of Israel to do. And see this little gap right here? That's all we've got. Vayahi b'chetzi halayla v'Adonai hako b'kol b'chor ha'aretz Mitzrayim. And it was in the middle of the night, some might say midnight, that God, Hiku, struck all of the firstborn children in the land of Egypt, Mibachor Paro, from Pharaoh's son, Hayeshov al Hakiso, Ad Bachor Hashevi, Asher Babeit Habor, to the firstborn child who was held hostage, Bechol Bechor Behema, Veyakom Paro, and all of the firstborns in the land. Vayakom Paro Lila, and Pharaoh awoke in the night, who Bechol Avodav, then he woke up all of the people who worked for him. Should I scroll down? Aha, there we go. Vechol Mitzrayim, and everybody in the land of Egypt woke up, because there was a very loud sound b'Mitzrayim in Egypt, ki ein bayit asher ein sham mate, because there was no house that was not touched by death. Vayikra leMoshe uleAharon Laila, and Pharaoh called to Moses and Aaron in the middle of the night, Vayomer kumu tseu mitoch ami gam atem gam b'nei Yisrael velechu avdav et Adonai kidvarcham gam zonchem gam bekorchem kechu kaasher dibartem velechu urachtem gam iti, and said to Moses and Aaron, get up, get the heck out of here. Everybody who's part of you, all of your cattle, all of your people and their children. And before you go, can you give me a blessing too, because I trust your God a little bit more than I did previously.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emes v'hayei olam nata b'torenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mishaberach avotenu b'motenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all of our January birthdays on the occasion Aliyah LeTorah. May this be a year of ascension, closer to Torah, closer to the Ma'asim Tovim that you all already do for this congregation. And we say, may you live to be 120. Mea ke'esrim is the key word here in Hebrew, which says, may you live until 100, but feel like you're 20. And we all say together, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Please rise as the Torah is lifted, dressed, and put away.
Vezot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael. Ari Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai,
Strength, we ask you for healing for Ahuva Bacha Bat Nechama, Hannah Akawi, Barbara Alexander, Barbara Backow, Fred Belkin, Arnold Bierman, Susan Bierman, Bracha Bat Mordechai Velevana, Margie Berman Block, Stephen Bossi, Richard Brock, Ed Burns, Alan Capolino, Janet Capolono, Craig Karstens, Shelley Darman, Gerald Dicker, Jay Eichler, Sheldon Eisenstark, Rhonda Finlay, Mandy Freelander, Marty Fromowitz, Larry Guys, Jennifer Goldberg, Donna Goldfarb, Ina Hankin, Marsha Hoffman, Laura Hunter, Sandy Ingber, Ruth Jacobson, Emily Josephson, Nadav Kamer, Ken Canoff, B. Klein, Murray Koppelman, Ethan Kotler, Joan Kramer, Shalomith Batsara, Elliot Krause, Kenneth Lundow, Ellie Lifton, Shira Macagon, Alan Merker, Stanley Miller, Colleen Morgan, David Morgan, Jill Moriarty, Wayne Pelletier, Asi Perez, Barbara Perlmutter, Linda Reeser, Carol Romer, Alan Rosenfeld, Richard Rotner, Phil Rubin, Riley Schneider, Bertram Shapiro, Kenneth Shore, Len Sirowitz, Marissa Spiro, Joseph Eli Tretsky, Remy Tereski, Gilad Pinchas Ben Shifra, Joe Viner, Joan Weidenfeld, Tom Weidenfeld, Richard Weinstock, Rose White, Bill Wolf, Marilyn Yentis, and Carrie Zimmerman. And to those names, we had those in your hearts that you were thinking about on this Shabbat. And if you are joining us on Zoom or live stream, we also encourage you to share their names aloud. We continue with Aleinu on page 282. It is now my pleasure to introduce you all to Jennifer Brown. Jennifer Brown is the Supervisory Park Ranger for the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge in Boynton Beach. She leads a team of dynamic park rangers that aim to connect the diverse communities of South Florida to their public lands. Before coming to Loxahatchee in 2022, she worked as an environmental education ranger for National Wildlife Refuges in Texas, Nevada, Ohio, and Louisiana. She loves bird watching, scary movies, and she is a proud cat lady that has 3 adorable cats. We are so excited to hear everything that you have come to share with us today.
Thank you so much for having me today. I am so excited to be here. Is there any way that we could put the slides here? Thank you so much. So my name is Jennifer Brown. I am the Supervisory Park Ranger at the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. Would you switch to the next slide, please? So one of the biggest questions that I get about National Wildlife Refuges is what's the difference between a park and a wildlife refuge? Well, it's pretty simple. Parks are for people, and refuges are for wildlife. Don't get me wrong, parks are really important. We need places in nature where people can connect to the outdoors, where they can go rock climbing, where they can ride their ATVs off the trail, where they can tell ghost stories around a campfire. All those things are important. But we also need a place for wildlife to call home, a place where they can raise their young, where they can be safe and protected, a place that's safe from development. And that's what wildlife refuges are for. Will you switch to the next slide? Thank you. So the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge is federal lands. It's part of your public lands that are protected. It's also part of the Northern Everglades. So it was established in 1951, and it's almost 150,000 acres. I have a really hard time wrapping my head around something that big, so I included this map, and you can see that the teardrop shape of the refuge, the northern end is at Southern Boulevard, and it goes all the way south to Parkland, where Hillsborough meets Loxahatchee Road. So that's a pretty big area. Those are two entrances that we have to the refuge where you can access boat ramps and fishing docks and get on the levee to go for a bike ride or a hike. But our headquarters entrance in Boynton Beach is where we have the most recreational infrastructure for visitors to come and see wildlife. So if you look at the map, in between Boynton Beach Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue, on 441, that is where our main headquarters entrance is. And if you haven't heard of us before, maybe you've heard of Bender's Farm. We're right down the road from the farm. Will you switch to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this is your official invitation. Please come and visit us at the refuge. There are so many things that you can do to connect to nature, to unwind, to relax. You can go on a bike ride or a hike or a paddle. We have 50 miles of hiking trails. Lots of exciting things that you can do, including nature programs. So our rangers give free programs on all kinds of topics. Last night we had a talk on alligators, but we'll do full moon hikes or spooky walks, all different kinds of ways that we try to connect people to nature and to their National Wildlife Refuge, because in South Florida, you really feel like you're around people all of the time. And if you just drive a little bit west to 441 to visit the refuge, you almost feel like there's wilderness here in South Florida. Will you switch to the next slide, please? So again, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here tonight. I want to invite you to come to Everglades Days, our big mega event that we have every February. And this QR code will take you right to our website where we list all of our free events. And so Everglades Days is February 10th through the 17th. And we're going to have over 40 different activities so that you can come and try out how to connect to nature in all kinds of different ways. I also put my contact information up there because if you have a question or you want to come on a tour, I would love to have you. So thank you very much.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Kaufman. I'm the Executive Director here at Temple Bethel. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for educating us about the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge and for your dedication to preserving our natural environment. Many of you know that this space we're in is called the Merle Singer Sanctuary, and it is a sanctuary for you. For me, it's work. So when I'm in this space, it doesn't always feel like a sanctuary because I'm always trying to figure out what's going to go wrong that I'll need to take care of. So when I need a sanctuary, where I go is the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. I spend a lot of time there, as my wife will tell you, on my mountain bike or walking, or I take my kayaks out there for a paddle. I've actually taken Rabbi Dan out there kayaking at the refuge. He enjoyed being amongst the alligators up close and personal. And also, when I'm not working here at Temple Bethel, I'm proud to serve on the board of directors of an organization called the Friends of the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. We have a distinguished guest here tonight in the front row, Michelle Hendricks in the green, who's the president of the board of directors of the Friends of the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. Michelle and I serve in that organization. The Friends of the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge provides awareness, education, and advocacy for the refuge. It also provides financial support for the refuge. Unfortunately, our federal government continues to cut the budget of the refuge significantly, and they are grossly underfunded, unfortunately, to provide the services needed to maintain that refuge properly. I was just in a meeting last week with Jennifer and her supervisor, who's the head park ranger at the refuge, Rolf Olson, and he was telling me how when he joined the staff there, they had 30 full-time employees. Remember, this is 150,000 acres they have to maintain, and they've cut it now down to 10 employees. So unfortunately, the Department of the Interior does not fund that public land the way they should, and so the Friends organization helps provide funding as well for that organization. So tonight, if it moves you, I would encourage you to make a donation to our tzedakah fund. On your way out, you can drop some money in the tzedakah box or swipe your credit card or scan the QR code and make a donation. All the money we raise tonight from our tzedakah collection will go to the Friends of the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge, and we'd really encourage you to support it. You can also join the Friends organization for as little as $25. You can have an annual membership. You'll get our newsletters and updates on events. And Michelle and I and Jennifer will be out in the lobby afterwards if you have any questions. And as an added incentive, tonight only, if you make a donation of $5 or more, I will give you one of these lovely 2024 wall calendars. All of the photography in this calendar was taken at the refuge. It's really beautiful if you need a calendar, or even if you don't. And it even has all the Jewish holidays on here too, so you can get rid of your free, ugly Hebrew calendar that you get from Publix and get one of these instead to decorate your refrigerator. So thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. If you're interested in learning about the Friends, please join us. You can also go to our website, loxahatcheefriends.com, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you for your attention. Shabbat Shalom.
And if we were to borrow that fancy calendar, you would notice that next week we are celebrating the festival of Tu B'Shvat, which is the birthday of the trees. So what better week do we have now than to celebrate the trees and the wildlife in Loxahatchee? So I thought it was very auspicious timing. And it is now my pleasure to invite up Wendy Whalen as the president of the Board of Trustees to offer some greetings and announcements.
Good evening and Shabbat Shalom. First, I'd like to thank Rachel and her family, her parents, Virginia and Mark, for leading us in blessings over candles this evening. And to Benji and his parents, Lauren and Brian, thank you for leading us in Kiddush. And to all of my, I would say fellow, but I'll say male and female January birthday friends, thank you for helping to lead us in Torah blessings, and to the lovely woman who is celebrating her 90th birthday. You are an inspiration. I hope I am up on this bima to celebrate mine as well. And thank you, Jennifer, for talking to us and telling us all about the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. I also heard from Steve Kaufman. This was the first time he ever spoke from the bima. And you did pretty well, so yeah. Okay. I think we'll add it to your job description. Okay, I would also like to thank Joel Ivers, our Vice President of Development, for joining me on the Bima, and to our wonderful choir for being here and brightening our evening with your gorgeous voices. And I would like to also invite anyone who has joined as a new member to Temple Bethel anytime from February of 2023 until now to a new member meet and greet, which will be held this Sunday at 1:30 here at the Schaefer Family Campus. And we do ask that you RSVP on our website. And we are so excited about next weekend. It is Shabbat Shira weekend with musician in residence, Rabbi Josh Warshawski. And he will be with us Friday, January 26th, for our 7:30 Shabbat service. And then again, Saturday morning, the 27th, for a musical morning service and Torah study at 9:30. And then, as a reminder to everyone with young children or grandchildren, we invite you to Family Fun Day at the Bethel Early Learning Center on our Beck Family Campus. That will be Saturday morning, January 27th. And once again, we ask you to register to attend. And a reminder that the Brotherhood Golf outing honoring Neil Slavsky will be on Monday, January 29th at the beautiful Boca Rio Golf Club. And if you have not registered already, you can visit our website to do that. You might have seen a table set up in the lobby, and we invite you to stop by that table where you can write a postcard to our elected officials urging their continued support for Israel and to bring the hostages home safely. You can also go to tbeboca.org/Israel to learn about the many ways that our temple is supporting Israel during this difficult time. Another reminder that our new mausoleum expansion is now open for sale, and you can contact Mike Sarowitz, our mausoleum director, for pre-construction pricing. And as Steve Kaufman so eloquently told you, our tzedakah donations this week will be going to Friends of the Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. So I encourage you to visit our website for information about these and so many other wonderful Temple Bethel events. On behalf of my husband, Steve, and myself, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.
I need a mic. Help if I turned my microphone on. At this time, our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. This Shabbat, we are... Do you have the lid? I have... This week, we are remembering Meyer Abeman, Sheila Auslander, Ann Bakerman, Rabbi Jeffrey L. Ballin, Beth Ann Baskes, Audrey Bear, Roy Belkin, Alma Belkov, Carol Benash, Rose Berger, Samuel Bernstein, Vera Bernstein, Harriet Binder, Erica Bishens, Fanny Wolfson-Block, Fred Bosch, Michelle Brody, Marcia Brown, Maurice S. Bucksbaum, Lois Ann Chacon, Mattis Jakinski, Jack Cohen, Richard Comras, Jeanne Kauf, Milton Crown, Theodore Davis, Esther Davis, Eleanor Fallender, Stephen Allen Distel, Charles Dorfman, Terry Gale Duboff Richmond, Carol Ellis, Honey Feinstein, Stephen Feller, Randy Finkel, Leonard Flieger, Paula Fomone, Sydney Frager, Walter Frank, Sadie Friedman, Robert Gleeman, Hyman Glick, Alan Gluckstern, Nellie Gropper Gold, Michael I. Goldberg, Florence Goldstein, Albert Gore, Leo Gottlieb, Blanche Gottlieb, Hillary Gottlieb, Rose Gottlieb, Louis Green, Annie Greenstein, Benjamin R. Gutterman, Hallie Hammerschmidt, Teresa Hess, Merle Holstein, Charles Horn, Saul Hornreich, Harold Ivers, Margaret Maggie Jacobson, Harry Jerome, Alexander Calmore, Adele Cantor, Ann Kaplan, Robert Katz, Audrey Kalin, Alan Kaiser, Hermione Colesby, Elaine Kuntz, Matthew Langsley, Gertrude Lassen, Sadie Lavitt, Rose Legum, Irving Levine, Lillian Levine, David Lewis, Saul Lind, Edith Lipinski, Samuel Lux, Molly Lux, Paul Lux, Susan Dorman Luxembourg, Edward Mann, Henry Manson, Karen Marchfeld, Paul Markoff, Sarah Maurer, Rosalind Ronnie Milter, Alza Nechemja, Leslie Line Needleman, Gertrude Oberman, Saul Pedvis, Michael Pelevin, Morton Rosenfeld, Sylvia Rudderman, Richard Benjamin Rudikoff, Irene Judith Satin, Lynn Schnee, Irma Schneer, George Scotland, Eugene Schwartz, Dr. Frank Donald Chapins, David Sherman, Rhea Jane Schindel, Muriel Silverman, Hyman M. Santz, Esther Stein, Martin Stein, Joel Tabnick, Louis Tone, Morris Tuckerman, Sarah Wasserman, Herman Weinberg, Molly Weinberg, Ann Weiner, Jordan Weiss, Norman Worth, and Ron Wolkin. And we note with sadness those that we've lost in the last 30 days: Andrew Kaysen, Scott Granite, David Pasewitz, Joan Levy, Jane Eleanor Simon, Barbara Bobby Bernheim, Sergeant Adisha Nee, Marilyn Cass, Florence Kirschenbaum, Joyce Gerber, Ephraim Jackman, Carolyn Luck, Edward Snyder, Alan Knappen, and Barry Schlissel. And we remember with sadness those who've perished serving the state of Israel in the last week: Uri Jerby, Anwar Sarahan, Uriah Almek Goshen, Zachariah Pesach Haber, Yair Katz, Noam Ashram, Nitzan Schlesser, Barak Ailon, Andalam Kavda, and Dan Vinderman. And to those names we add those that you are remembering this Shabbat, both in the sanctuary and from wherever you are joining us virtually. And we rise together as a community for the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitzgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirotei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chai echon u'vyom echon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the Holy One who creates harmony on high bring peace to all of us, to all of Israel, and to all who inhabit the earth, to which we say together, Amen.
Amen. Again, thank you so much to our incredible choir. We are so very lucky to have so many wonderfully talented and beautiful people. And if you sing and you're not in the choir, then I hope that you will come up and ask somebody about it and think about joining us. And again, thank you to our musicians, to Maymay on the violin, and Vindy on the piano, and Jeff on the drums, and thank you to Ron and Ray in the booth, and I think Hunter is somewhere back there. And we will conclude tonight with the words of Oseh Shalom, a prayer for peace, and we invite the B'nai Mitzvah, almost young adults, to come up and help lead us in our motzi after our closing song.
And any other kids who happen to be here this evening.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.